America's choice in home care.
Morning. Welcome to our special edition coffee chat. I hope you have your coffee or your tea or your beverage of choice. I have to say, here in Maryland, the weather has cooled down a little bit, so a nice hot cup of coffee is a wonderful addition to my morning. So we could not let this month of National Fall Prevention Month close without bringing you some information on just how you can prevent falls in your home and age in place safely. So my name is Mary Ellen Wilson. I am your Business Development Manager with Visiting Angels. We help older adults age gracefully in place by being an extra set of hands or helping with the activities of daily living and providing respite for family caregivers. So we have offices in Silver Spring, Gaithersburg, Edgewater, Maryland, Washington, D.C. So we pretty much service the entire metropolitan area. So today, I'm very excited about our special edition. We're calling it a special edition. Normally, we only do 2 coffee chats a month, but again, with this special month, we thought, oh, we got to add one more. And today we have 2 fabulous guests on our panel. So first, we are going to hear from our very own Mary Cerveny, who is our Clinical Supervisor here at Visiting Angels. So Mary is going to discuss the impact of falls, understanding your fall risks, and the importance of course, avoiding falls from a clinical perspective. Then we will hear from Jim Bland, and Jim is the Business Development Director with Long Bath, which is a division of Long Fence Company. Jim is going to take us room by room and share specific tips on making your home safer. So just a few housekeeping items. We are going to do Q&A at the end of our presentation. So the way that you can ask your questions is if you are watching our Zoom webinar, just go ahead and type your question into the chat box or the Q&A box, and we will get to that at the end. If you are joining us from Facebook, and hello Facebook friends, all you need to do is go ahead and type your question in the comments area. I have our brains behind the camera, Tiffany, who is watching for questions via Facebook. All righty, so that is what we have for that. Welcome everyone. I see that we are all ready. So Mary, I am going to throw it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Mary Ellen. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody on here today for a special edition. I've been with Visiting Angels almost 2.5 years, but I have actually been a nurse for about 20 years. Worked in many different aspects of nursing, but working with the elderly has been my passion. So I'm very happy to be able to present this little bit of information for you guys on fall risks. Excuse me. Okay, so we do have some age-related risk factors, and you may already know some of these. So, of course, as we get older, our muscles tend to lose their strength, which obviously puts us at risk for falling. So a key for this would be to try and do some exercise every day, whether it's just going for a walk, getting some really, really light weights. You don't even have to buy the weights. A can of soup, you know, I've seen people doing that. Just to keep those muscles moving and keep them fluid. Of course, our reflexes begin to diminish, which is why a lot of times we ask the elderly to please stop driving, because they don't have that reflex where if something's happening, they can't slam that brake on, okay? So they just can't react quick enough, and they tend to lose their balance. So if they're tripping, they don't have a reaction to try and grab onto something, and so they end up falling. Obviously, vision diminishes. Sometimes for us, it's earlier as we're getting older. So this is another one that's very typical. So making sure that your family members are getting their vision checked on a regular basis, if possible. We do understand that sometimes that's not possible. But making sure you're having your vision checked, having the proper prescription in your glasses is also essential. Okay. Obviously, forgetfulness can be very common. So they may forget that they're not able to walk like they used to, or maybe even none at all. We do have clients who are bedbound, but they still insist that they can get up and walk, and of course they're going to fall out of bed. Okay. Changes in sleep patterns is very common as well. They may have their days and nights mixed up. So during the daytime, they are very sleepy, which again could be a risk for falling because they're not as awake as they used to be. And then on the other spectrum, if they're up at night, it could be dark. They're tripping over things. And so obviously in the dark, they're at a bigger risk for fall. So now we have medical related risk factors. Arthritis is a big one. It obviously affects their joints. So their knees hurt, their ankles hurt, their hips hurt. So this is going to cause them to not be able to walk as smoothly as they normally would. So this is obviously a risk factor. Osteoporosis, so the bones become weak and brittle. And unfortunately, women are more at risk for osteoporosis than men. So even the slightest fall could cause a broken bone. Sore feet from foot disorders, such as bunions, overgrown toenails, blisters, things of that nature. So we recommend, especially for our diabetics, seeing a podiatrist on a regular basis to make sure that their feet are in good condition. We do have a condition that's called orthostatic hypotension. And what happens is your blood pressure is fine, but if you go to sit up or stand up, it drops drastically, which can cause dizziness, which again will cause you to fall. Medication side effects is a big one. If you're on more than 4 medications, you are at higher risk for falls. If you have recently changed medications or increased a dose or added medications, that's going to put you at risk because you may not know what your body's going to react like. So it could cause dizziness, it could cause sleepiness. So really making sure that you're watching out for those types of things for any medication changes. Incontinence, which means you're not able to hold your bladder or your bowels. Obviously, if you do have some sort of incontinence or frequency, you may be rushing to get to the bathroom because you don't want to have an accident. So again, this is going to put you at risk for falling. Mentally or cognitive impairment is another big one. As the cognition declines, they might not realize that they can't do what they normally would do. And so again, this could cause them to fall. Environmental risk factors, wet surfaces, loose rugs. I know, like my dad, he loved those braided rugs, and they would slide all over the linoleum floor. Huge risk factor. Highly polished floors with our wood floors. I've experienced this personally where I've polished something and the polish gets on the wood floor and it becomes extremely slippery. So really making sure you're being careful with that. Clutter on the floor, uneven stairs or stairs without handrails, electrical cords, telephone cords, improper lighting, especially of course in the evening. Another one that people don't really realize is poorly fitting shoes, okay? You want to make sure your shoes are fitting tightly. If you are at risk to fall, we don't recommend wearing anything that's just a slide on or a slipper. It's best to wear a shoe that ties nice and tight. It's got a nice tread on the bottom so it grips to prevent those falls. And then now we are getting into the colder weather, so ice and snow, which hopefully we won't have a lot of that this year, but you just never know. Even the falling leaves, when those get wet, those are very slippery. So, making sure that you're very aware of your environment around you and making sure that you're getting rid of those fall risks. So, of course, a lot of our elderly clients use assistive devices, canes, walkers, wheelchairs, things of that nature. Very rarely crutches, but you will see the occasional client using crutches. So they are great in preventing falls, but they can also be a hindrance because they're either not working properly, they're not being used properly. So we want to make sure, number one, that all of our equipment is in good working order. With our wheelchairs, you want to make sure that the wheels are on tightly, there's no loose nuts and bolts. With our canes and walkers, you want to make sure they're fitted properly. They are adjustable. So you want to make sure your client is in a good standing position. We don't want them hunched over walking, because what that's going to do is that's going to increase their risk for fall because of their balance. If they're leaning forward trying to hold on to that walker, it's like that forward momentum is going to cause them to fall. So you want to make sure that those are being measured properly, okay? With the shower, grab bars are a wonderful thing. Now you want to try to avoid the ones that have the suction cups, because obviously those can fail. So you want to make sure they're going to be the ones that are going to be attached with nuts and bolts, so they are not going to come off. It kind of defeats the purpose if the suction cups fail and they're trying to grab onto it. Using a non-slip mat inside the bathtub itself, or you've got those little like not Velcro, but they're like sticky things like ducks and stuff like that. Anything you can put in there to prevent the bathtub from getting very slippery, because obviously that's a very common thing. If you have a bedside commode, you want to make sure, again, those are adjustable, so make sure it's at a good height, and make sure that the little buttons that hold that in place are fully extended out, so when the client sits down, one of those legs doesn't buckle, which would cause them to fall, okay? So it's just some little tips and hints to try to prevent falls. And one of the things I do see a lot is they feel that if they're using an assistive device, it's a sign of age or weakness, but it's not true, okay? We're just trying to prevent falls and trying to keep our clients safe. So just try and reinforce that with the client, or I keep saying clients because, that's what I work with, but your family members, making sure that they understand that it's not a sign of weakness or aging. It's a tool in the prevention of falls. We want to try and encourage our family members to stay as active as possible. Just taking a little walk during the day, again, using little weights for exercises, just keeping them mobile. We don't want them sitting in front of a TV all day, because again, that's going to rapidly increase the decrease in their muscle strength, and we just don't want them to become sedentary. As they grow older, our flexibility does diminish. So even just light stretching is going to be very helpful. If you notice any changes with your family's memory or their vision or their hearing, you might want to make sure you get that checked out, because again, those things can increase our risk for falling. If they have trouble getting out of a bed or a chair, whether it's due to arthritis or some other type of pain, make sure you're helping them up, okay? We don't want them, having all this effort to try and stand up, and then when they finally do stand up, they're so weak from the effort that they fall, okay? And again, this comes into play if you have orthostatic hypertension. When you come from a laying to a sitting position or sitting to standing, you want to give yourself a couple seconds to kind of, get yourself together to make sure you don't have that dizziness and fall, okay? For clients with the history of dizziness, again, you're going to want to encourage them to sit for a few minutes or a few seconds just to get their head together. If they have a hospital bed, these are really wonderful because they have the side rails to prevent them from falling. It also assists them with getting up, but you also want to make sure that these are kept at the lowest position, so that way if they do happen to have a fall, they're not falling from a taller height than they would if they had the bed in a lower position. When your clients are going to the bathroom, we always encourage you to make sure that they don't lock the door, because if they lock the door and they fall, you're not going to be able to get in, okay? So we want to make sure that their door is unlocked, so if something were to happen, you're able to get in there right away, okay? Assist them to the bathroom and maybe encourage them to go a little bit more frequently, because again, if they have that urgency or frequency, they're rushing to get to the bathroom, this is a perfect time for them to fall, because they're either using a cane or a walker, it gets caught on something, there's so many different factors. So just kind of encourage them to maybe go a little bit more often than they normally would. Keep everyday items that your client would need within reach, especially if they are bedbound. Keep a bedside table, so if they have their water there or their telephone there, because if they're trying to reach for something that may be on a dresser or something like that, they're obviously going to have the higher risk for falling out of bed. They can hit their head on that dresser or whatever. So keeping things close by is going to be essential. I kind of already went over this as far as their shoes are concerned. Making sure good, proper fitting shoes with a nice bottom. We don't want them slipping and falling, okay? If you see anything wet on the floor, wipe that up immediately, because again, slipping and falling is going to be a higher risk at that point. Make sure your areas are well lit, especially in the evening time. A lot of people will use a night light, and a lot of times that's sufficient, but you want to make sure it is going to be sufficient enough to light up the entire area. Again, you know, the nighttime is the most frequent time that people will fall, just because it is not well lit. Okay. Keep stairways clean. If they're going up and down the stairs, you don't want a lot of things piled up on the stairs. You want to make sure you have handrails at least on one side, but we do encourage both sides, just so they have something to grip on. If your client or family member uses a cane or a walker, a lot of times I've noticed people will have a walker for the downstairs and they'll have one for the upstairs. That way they're not trying to drag that up and down the stairs. So that way they have it there. A lot of our clients and family members I've noticed use a stair lift if that's even possible for you. So that way they don't have to risk falling down the stairs. They're using that stair lift, you go with them, make sure they're getting up and down those stairs safely. Okay. I hope that this has been very helpful to you. Again, we will have question and answer at the end. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we are going to turn it over to Jim.
Well, thank you, Mary. That was very complete. Goodness gracious. There were so many things. I was scribbling notes frantically as you went by. So I know I have some questions when we're done. But I think it would be, even though we heard some of it through the information that you shared, I think that it would be great now for Jim to take us through and where are some of those areas in the home that tend to trip us up and our loved ones up.
Great, I'll be happy to do so. Mary, that was extremely comprehensive and really informative. You know, one of the things that people don't realize is how prevalent falls are. I mean, 1 out of 3 people over 65 fall every year. It accounts for 25% of hospital admissions, 40% of nursing home admissions, 50% of the people don't regain their independence. And so it really does, it changes everything for the senior's family, caregivers, and the average cost of a fall is about $30,000 after all is said and done. So wow. We're a very big proponents in taking proactive measures. I mean, you don't want to wait to have an accident before you decide it's a good idea to start wearing a seatbelt. Same thing with falling. You need to go ahead and take proactive measures in the home. Much of it is common sense, but much of it is really, you know, taking a deeper look as you go through the property, starting from the outside. You know, when we're all younger, you know, just walking around and walking over things and climbing up things is pretty easy. But as we age, as Mary was saying, really gets difficult. So, you know, when you're approaching the home, think about the walkways. You know, a sidewalk that may have a little half-inch dip in it or a little crevice, for us, it's not a problem. For a senior, it could be a huge problem. I mean, those are the kind of things you need to look at, making sure they're, you know, non-slip surfaces and making sure they're smooth, that there's nothing that's going to cause them to trip. Same with the steps, making sure that there are as many railings as you can possibly have. Having on both sides is absolutely the best way, making sure that the steps are non-slip. If they have some vision issues, I would even recommend some type of reflective tape be put there, because that will delineate exactly where the steps are and help seniors with being able to see those. And the big thing, as Mary was mentioning, is lighting, but having the correct type of lighting. The worst thing you can do is to install lighting that creates shadows. And when you have lighting that has shadows, that can really cause a senior to get thrown off trying to go up and down the step and just really cause problems. So it's important to make sure that that lighting is installed correctly. And in many cases, make sure the lighting is automatically motion activated, especially with steps and the walkways and those type of things. In the main living areas,
Can I ask a question? I know that we're saving questions, but since you mentioned the lighting, I don't want to forget this. Is there a specific type of lighting better than another for our seniors in terms of casting shadows?
Yes, there are. And, you know, the nice part about many of the things we're going to discuss today is the fact that you can get these at hardware stores. Many of them are battery powered and are the type of incandescent type of lighting that's not going to create a shadow effect and those type of things. And the battery powered ones are the best because, you know, they are going to come on and off with motion. They affix very, very easily at wherever you want to put them in the home. You don't have to worry about wiring. You don't have to worry about those type of things. And with the technology we have today, that type of lighting has really, really become popular and
And the
useful.
batteries last a while? I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's,
I mean today, you know, the batteries that are in these things today are so much different than we used to have. You know,
then our
batteries have
4C
made a tremendous
batteries.
amount of progression.
Yeah. Okay, continue, please. Thank you. So you were
Um,
going into the living room. Go ahead.
Okay, going into the living room, you want to make sure that if you have carpeting, that's fine. You want to make sure that there's the carpeting is tight, that you don't have any creases in it. You don't want throw rugs. You don't want a lot of extension cords, those type of things. You want to have the furniture arranged in such a way that as the senior is walking through the living room or walking around, that maybe they have something to hang on to. So, you know, think about where you may place the couch to where, yes, they can use the couch to sit in, but if they're getting up to navigate, you know, into the kitchen or navigate someplace else, the back of the couch can be a great stabilizer that they can use. Making sure they have a cordless phone. These are the type of things in the living room. Cordless phone, a remote for the TV. There are instruments you can get today for lamps and those type of things that are also remote. So, you know, we recommend that the senior, you know, number one, be able to have as much at their hand while on the couch or wherever place else that they can just go ahead and put on lights, do the TV, do the phone. There is technology for the doorbell today that they can go ahead and, you know, the doorbell can ring. They are able to literally answer the door without having to get up and go to the door and those type of things. So while we want them to be moving and mobile and getting exercise, we don't want them to have to get up and down all the time and walking through the house. When we get into the kitchen, biggest thing there is a couple of things: non-slip flooring. You know, everybody likes to polish their floors. They want them looking nice and shiny. Then they put the rugs down. That is a recipe for disaster. So it's very important to go ahead and make sure the flooring material, and you don't have to go out and buy new flooring necessarily. There are type of adhesives that can be affixed to the floor that make it very non-slippery, but still attractive, and without having to go through the expense of changing that. Big item in the kitchen is making sure that everything that they're going to use on a daily basis is within hand's reach without having to climb on a stool or something like that. The amount of falls that take place like that is just horrendous. As a matter of fact, if there are any stepping stools or any type of stools in the home, get them out of the home. Don't hide them. Don't do this. Get them out of the home. There is no reason that any senior should ever be using that. And then think about the things that they use, the snacks that they like to get, you know, or anything they use with cooking or anything like that, that it's within hand's reach without having to bend down a lot and without having to ever worry about trying to climb on something. As you go through the home, grab bars are absolutely critically important, and they're easy to install. You need to make sure when you do install them, they're going against a hard surface, such as a stud, that's going to hold it in place. And as Mary said, you know, you don't want to be dealing with any suction cups or those type of things. No, you want something that's going to be good, solid, and hard. But what's important is to spend time with the senior understanding how they move through the home and where those grab bars are going to be most appropriate for how they live in the home and how they navigate the home in putting those in. The nice part about it, when it's time to go ahead and move to the next stage of living, those grab bars can be removed with no issue at all. As we get into the bedroom, the big issue with the bedroom is keeping it clutter-free, particularly between the bed and the bathroom. You don't want throw rugs, and you want to make sure that the room is equipped with a number of things. You want to have motion lighting in there, so if they get up in the middle of the night, a light is automatically going to go off to go ahead and give them light, because what they will do is they'll get up and think, oh, it's okay, I don't need to turn a light on, and then something happens. Having the phone right next to the bed, having a flashlight right next to the bed, and then also making sure everything is in reach as far as their shoes, their clothes. You don't want to have to bend down a lot because that will cause a fall. So if you can get shelving that's going to keep everything, right around waist height to where they can grab their shoes there, their hats, whatever they need is going to be accessible to them. And once again, keeping it clutter-free is critically important. Now, we're going to get to the next room in the house, which is called the most dangerous room in the home. And this is the bathroom. And as a matter of fact, the falls that I was mentioning earlier, 80% of those falls occur in the bathroom. So we need to pay particular attention to the bathroom. And what normally will cause a fall in the bathroom is either a wet floor that causes somebody to slip, or trying to navigate climbing in and out of the old bathtub. They just don't, in trying to do that, it is a task for someone that's getting up in age and has some of the conditions. Excuse me, our light just went off.
We have those same
Sorry
lights.
about that.
And
my
everybody
office,
have to wave like this so that
I
it'll
do.
come on.
My office is equipped with, if I don't move enough, it will turn off so I can take a nap during the day. No. What's critically important is to, if you have a tub in the home, we highly recommend, and so do most people recommend, get the tub out. And that's one of the areas where long baths really specializes. And one day we're able to come in, remove the antiquated fall-causing bathtub and replace it with a beautiful walk-in shower or a walk-in tub, equipped with all the latest and greatest safety features, bars, seats, non-skid surfaces, and a lot of other features that can go into it as far as handheld with showering, and just it makes it so much easier for the senior. The other nice part about it, like with the walk-in shower, if they progress to the next stage in life where they would possibly be in a wheelchair or anything like that, you can roll right into them as well. So there's a lot of different features that go into that. The other thing to keep in mind in the bathroom is raise the toilet. It's much easier for someone to have a raised toilet to be able to use that. And like I said, make sure there's grab bars at the toilet, grab bars at the sink, and seriously, if it's got a climb-in tub, get that tub out of there and get a beautiful walk-in shower put in, or a walk-in tub, whichever's going to be most. And one of the things that we do in coming out and meeting with seniors, we have a product specialist that will really evaluate and help the family evaluate what's going to be most appropriate, take them through products, and just go through the entire process. The nice part about it is that it only takes one day in most cases. So it's not a matter of weeks and weeks of not being able to use the shower or the tub or anything like that.
Yeah, that was very surprising to me that it only takes one day. And I love the fact that it is very customizable.
Oh, it is, without a doubt. And one of the things we do when we're installing it, we have the senior there so we can know exactly where to put the grab bars, exactly where to put the seat. So the shower is designed to be situated to the height, size, and some of the characteristics that the senior uses on a daily basis as they would navigate going in and out of the shower. So every one of them is a customization from that standpoint. In general, outside of those items, there's a lot of other things that can be done as far as the aging in place. Our company, Long Baths, part of the Long Fence and Home company, we're a certified aging in place specialist company, meaning that our company has been specifically trained to install all different types of things that need to be done in a home, and to advise what needs to be done in a home, whether it's a stair lift or any different types of things like that. But in general, a couple things to keep in mind. Make sure that the senior has a remote alert device. I mean, if they're going to be home by themselves at any particular time, you want to make sure they've got something where they can tap that button, or there's even technology today. If they fall, even if they were incapacitated, the device would recognize that they have fallen and would automatically dispatch a call. So that's important. Doorbell technology, so they don't have to feel uncomfortable trying to get to the door and those type of things. Use remotes, TVs, lights, those type of things. Lots of battery motion lights throughout the home. And one thing that's really important, have a power outage plan. So if the power goes out, what's the plan? And make sure that mom or dad knows what the plan is what to do, what not to do. So the nice part about that, if you've got the battery powered lights, that's going to help. Make sure they've got plenty of flashlights. Make sure they know what not to do. Okay, so when that happens, hopefully they have a cell phone that will go ahead and operate, or they have their button that will operate and they can communicate with somebody. Most importantly, if that power goes out and the lighting is bad, don't move. Just tell them to sit tight and communicate, and someone will go ahead and make sure that they're helping them. And then as Mary stated, making sure that it's getting as much exercise as possible, keeping as mobile as possible, and then having that vision exam done annually is really important, because things change and you want to make sure that if additional lighting may be needed, that could be taking place. So that's really kind of an overview of what to do. And most importantly, you know, what we do is we make sure the bathrooms are going to be as safe as it can with making those modifications to it.
Terrific, Jim. That was, again, a lot of great information. We so appreciate that. So before I start with questions, I do want to mention, because it was in your invitation, everyone that registered will be getting a copy of our pamphlet on Safe and Steady Fall Prevention Resource. And it's really great. It also has a checklist in here. We're going to send you the digital version of this. And just so that you know, as part of our services, we at Visiting Angels, for all of our new clients, we do a safety assessment in the home, and which is a great way to kind of, as we walk through, just like Jim was saying, pick out where there are areas where there could be trouble. And certainly for the bathroom, 80% of the falls occur in the bathroom. That was so shocking to me. Okay, so I have a couple questions. First off, you mentioned raising the toilet. And I know whenever I get back into an exercise routine and I'm doing my squats, the next day, boy, do I wish I had a higher toilet. So let me ask you, how in the world do you do that short of replacing it?
We do have elevated toilet seats.
Yep.
And it just attaches right onto the toilet. We use that. Yeah, we use that a lot for, I did orthopedics for a very long time. So our clients who had had hip or knee replacements, obviously they can't sit down on these really low toilets. Right. So it literally just attaches on to the toilet and it raises them up a good amount. So someplace like Home Depot or Lowe's is where you would find them, or are they special order? I would try a medical supply store first. I don't think Lowe's or Home Depot carries anything like that. Okay. Of course, Amazon. You can find anything on Amazon nowadays. That is so very true. The motion lighting in the bedroom, I think that if I had to say there's one tip above all the others, is that one. Because truly I find myself getting up more in the middle of the night than I ever did as I was younger. And having that light go on because it detected your motion, I think is just brilliant. You have to be really careful though with placement on that, because if you put it in the wrong spot, every time you turn in bed, it's going to turn on. So you need to really, be careful where you're placing that. Good point. And of course, with a clinician like Mary or a professional like Jim, they can help you decide where exactly you should be putting that. Very good point. All right. You mentioned on the floors that you can get strips. Can you talk a little bit more about that for the kitchen or bathroom floor to make it a little less slippery?
Well, there are a lot of different options there. You actually can get some spray-on type of material. It's clear, and it will give just a little bit of a rough edge to it to where it can still be cleaned very easily, but it creates some friction to where it's not going to be really slippery. Even if it gets wet, it will not be slippery because it has the ridges in it that help. Now, there are also any different types of strips that are adhesive type that you can go ahead and put down as well. And if you want to go the whole next level, there are flooring overlays that can be put in. That is a specific type of flooring, looks very nice, but is and smooth, but it's made of a material that's going to really resist people from being able to go ahead and slip if they're walking on it and those type of things. And I'll tell you, with flooring, you know, one of the things Mary alluded to is wearing shoes. What's very, very, very important is, you know, seniors will have the propensity to want to take their shoes off. They have their socks and they start walking through with their socks. That is a disaster because their socks are so slippery. They have non-slip socks and those type of things. But, you know, as Mary alluded to, what they wear on their feet can make a huge difference as far as slipping or anything like that.
And another thing to consider is outside stairs, especially again, now that we're getting to the cold and probably more rain. And this was something that I did for my father, is they are non-skid that you put on the steps. So that way, if they do get wet, they're not going to be very slippery. So that's another thing to consider, especially, you know, coming in and out of the house. And they are very, very effective. And they're very easy to install, that you literally peel the back off, put it right there on the step.
What you can also do with those, when you put those down, get a type of yellow stripping that goes where the riser is and where it goes with each level. And what that will do is that really helps a senior who, you know, if it's getting dark or if they have some visual issues, especially if they're wearing bifocals or something like that, that really helps with them being able to understand where the step is and where they need to lift to make sure that they're not going to have a problem with it.
Awesome, terrific. Okay, Mary, one thing that you mentioned early on, and I just wanted to revisit, you were talking about some of the age-related risk factors. And number one is, you know, we do lose some muscle mass as we get older, and exercise, how important exercising is. And one of my concerns is during this COVID time, especially, that the senior centers are closed. And I know my mom would go to low impact aerobics or water walking, and all of these things have closed. So do you have some tips or ideas on what seniors can do right in their home to help with flexibility and weight bearing and all of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So even just walking around the home, I mean, a lot of people have a very open floor plan, so they can do laps inside the home, just walking from kitchen to living room. You know, you don't have to go out and walk 10 miles a day, you know, simply maybe even going to the mailbox, checking the mail every day, getting their newspaper every day. Again, you can use everyday things around the house. Like I said, a can of soup, just, you know, doing some curls, keeping those arm muscles going. Stretching, again, is very important. Just, you know, stretching your arms, stretching your legs, stretching your back. I know I'm guilty of not doing things like that because of back issues, but it really actually does help, okay? Now, if you feel like, you know, physically you're not able to do those things, you know, it may be best to consult with your doctor to actually get physical therapy into the home setting. We have a lot of clients and family members who, you know, have gone to the hospital for whatever reason. When they come home, the doctor is able to order home physical therapy and occupational therapy, and that would work as well. But for those of us who are just normal every day, even if you can get outside, if you've got a nice flat area of a sidewalk, especially on a beautiful day like today, just going for a little walk in the neighborhood is essential. Just any activity is going to be very beneficial. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes a day. You know, just getting out for a simple walk is going to be essential.
You know, Mary, I think that one of our next coffee chats should be some seated stretches and things that they can do. And you can show them to us. And related to that, actually, is the little test that you have that you can test your balance. But before we go there, and don't let me forget that because that is a great little test. Are there any questions from our viewers? I'm not seeing any in the chat, although Alice Whitfield is saying that motion lighting is great lighting, terrific. I'm not seeing any others. So go ahead and type a question in if you have one and you have not done that yet. And then why don't we go ahead, Mary, why don't you show your slide on the balance test?
So this is called the Get Up and Go test. Okay. Takes just a couple of minutes. You can do it at home. Preferably you want to do it with, on a flat surface. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is have the person sit in a chair with an upright back, and it can have arms on it or it doesn't have to. Okay?
We should do this as you're going through.
Well, then
I'll do it as you go through. Of course, my chair has wheels, so this might be dangerous, but we'll see.
Right, yeah. So you don't want, you don't want the chair to have wheels.
Can you put on gallery view so they can see both of us? I'll do it as Mary explains it, rather than speaker view. Maybe.
You ready?
I think she's looking for the, well, that's all right. Go ahead. I don't have to do it as you're reading. We can go ahead. Yeah.
All right, so the second step is you're gonna ask the person to stand. You want to make sure they don't use the armrest to push themselves, if at all possible. But, if they absolutely have to, that's actually going to be one of the clues that they, may be a fall risk. Okay. Ask them to stay standing once they're up. If you notice them swaying, hesitating, they're probably at risk to fall. Or if they literally just fall right back into their chair. Okay. That's obviously they're having some issues. Okay. So now you're going to ask them to walk about 10 feet, turn around, walk and sit back down. Clues the person's having trouble is they're hesitating, they're afraid to start walking, they're stumbling, taking really small steps, moving slowly, or even asking for help. So as you can see, it doesn't take long to do this. If you do this test and you do notice that your family member is experiencing this, you may want to consider, talking to the primary care about it, getting themselves a cane or a walker. But again, we want to make sure that they're using those properly. Okay, but that's it.
So let's give this a try. We'll give it a try so you can see what it looks like. So I would say don't use a chair with wheels on it like I have right now. But if you have armrests, that's good in case they need it.
Right, right.
True? Okay. So you want them to stand up, okay? Yep. And then stand for a couple seconds, right? Let's just make so you're not looking at me. Okay. And then walk 10 feet,
10 feet
out of the screen view, back in, and then sit back down.
Yep. So if you notice any trouble with this at all, they are at risk for falling.
Okay, there you have it. I mean, that is an easy thing that we can all do at home. Yeah, terrific. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions at all? Last chance. The two of you are such a great tag team. I love all the information that you shared, and I know our viewers have just so many new and useful tips. So thank you. We will be sending this out to all of our registrants. Tiffany, do you want to share your screen for that last slide? If you need to get in touch with Visiting Angels or Long Baths, here are the phone numbers for you. So Visiting Angels, we do our free safety home care consultation. Long Bath will do the same thing and talk to you about customizing a bathroom, your bathtub conversion. And other than that, I do not see any questions. So we will be sending out this recording. We will have links in the recording for you. Next week, we're back to our regular schedule of coffee chats. And I'm very excited because we'll be chatting with Mary again, this time about communicating with your loved ones that may be suffering from dementia. And that is on the 7th. And then on the 21st, we will have a speaker talking about dementia, Alzheimer's, and sundowning behaviors. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our guests. Oh, wait a minute.
Question.
Oh, I have one, Mary
One
Ellen,
question came in.
one question.
John, good for you.
On the-
You gotta
on the-
do it.
On the phone number for long, it would be 844-394 long. Instead of
844.
844 instead of 855.
So sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
All right, so Yvonne got her question in right at the nick of time. She said, I just got a new tub. How do I get the walk-in tub? Uh-oh.
Okay. So she just had a new tub installed. That's not a problem because when we come in, we'll go ahead and remove that tub completely. And then we will go ahead and install the walk-in tub right where the old tub was. And you'll have the opportunity to determine what type of features are going to be best. You know, there's all types of features that go into those. So no, that's a very easy process that we do every single day.
Okay, I have a really dumb question, but I'm sure I'm not the only one wondering this. How do you have a walk-in tub? If you fill your tub with water, how does this work? How do you have a door on a bathtub?
Well, it's really very simple. The doors are pretty sturdy, and which they would have to be, and they have a watertight sealant all the way around. So when you get in and you close that, it closes from the inside or from the outside. It will close very, very firmly to where you don't have to worry about any leaking or anything taking place. Tub fills up.
Wow.
You use the hypertherapy jets and those type of things, which are really great for pain relief and for increasing mobility with people that have arthritis and those type of things. And then when you're done, it just drains out, and then you open the door and walk right out of it.
That's the key. Drain it out before you open the door.
Oh, yes.
And on that note, we are going to leave you. Thank you to my guests. Thank you so, so much. We will see you all next week. Have a great day. Enjoy your coffee. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.